MC.
Down from the corner house, just down the block, there's a place we can hang out. Man, it really rocks. You can chill, you can spill, you can hang out, watch the thrill. Down from the corner house, down from the corner house.
Down from the oh, hey guys, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Chapter 7, Part 1. Now, when we left this thing off, we had just found out the difference between a married Icelandic woman and a non-married Icelandic woman. Very important part of that. You'll have to go back and check if you have not found that. All right, we're coming at a new spot today. This is the Hammock Hangout, in case you didn't get that pre-show jingle bit. Anyway, Chapter 7, Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. Chapter 7, Conversation and Discovery. When I returned, dinner was ready. This meal was devoured by my worthy relative with avidity and voracity. His shipboard diet had turned his interior into a perfect gulf. The repast, which was more Danish than Icelandic, was in itself nothing, but the excessive hospitality of our host made us enjoy it doubly. The conversation turned upon scientific matters, and M. Fredrickson asked my uncle what he thought of the public library. "Library, sir?" cried my uncle. "It appears to me to be a collection of useless odd volumes, and a beggarly amount of empty shelves." "What?" cried M. Fridriksson. "Why, we have 8,000 volumes of most rare and valuable works, some in the Scandinavian language, besides all the new publications from Copenhagen." "8,000 volumes, my dear sir! Why, where are they?" cried my uncle. "Scattered over the country, Professor Hardwick. We are very studious, my dear sir, though we do not live in Iceland. Every farmer, every laborer, every fisherman can both read and write, and we think that books, instead of being locked up in cupboards, far from the sight of students, should be distributed as widely as possible. The books of our library are therefore passed from hand to hand without returning to the library shelves, perhaps for years. Then, when foreigners visit you, there is nothing for them to see. Well, sir, foreigners have their own libraries, and our first consideration is that our humbler classes should be highly educated. Fortunately, the love of study is innate in the Icelandic people. In 1816, we founded a literary society and mechanics institute. Many foreign scholars of eminence are honorary members. We publish books destined to educate our people, and these books have rendered valuable services to our country. Allow me to have the honor, Professor Hardwick, to enroll you as an honorary member." My uncle, who already belonged to nearly every literary and scientific institution in Europe, immediately yielded to the amiable wishes of good Mr. Fredrickson. "And now," he said, after many expressions of gratitude and goodwill, "if you will tell me what books you expected to find, perhaps I may be of some assistance to you." I watched my uncle keenly. For a minute or two he hesitated, as if unwilling to speak. To speak openly was perhaps to unveil his projects. Nevertheless, after some reflection, he made up his mind. "Well, Mr. Fredrickson," he said, in an easy, unconcerned kind of way, "I was desirous of ascertaining if, among other valuable works, you had any of the learned Arne Sagnussum. Arne Sagnussum? Cried the professor of Reykjavik. You speak of one of the most distinguished scholars of the 16th century, of the great naturalist, the great alchemist, the great traveler. Exactly so. One of the most distinguished men connected with the Icelandic science and literature, as you say, sir. A man illustrious above all. Yes, sir, this is true. But his works, we have none of them. Not in Icelandic? There are none in Icelandic or elsewhere, answered the other sadly. Why so? Because Arne Sagnussum was persecuted for heresy, and in 1573 his works were publicly burnt at Copenhagen by the hands of the common hangman. Very good, capital, murmured my uncle, to the great astonishment of the worthy Icelander. You said, sir? Yes, all is clear. I see the link in the chain. Everything is explained. And now I understand why Arne Sagnussum, put out of court, forced to hide his magnificent discoveries, was compelled to conceal beneath the veil of an incomprehensible cryptograph the secret. What secret? A secret which, stammered my uncle. Have you discovered some wonderful manuscript? Cried Mr. Fregwitson. No. I was carried away by enthusiasm. A mere suspicion. Very good, sir. But really, to turn to another subject, I hope you will not leave our island without examining into its mineralogical riches. Well, the fact is, I'm rather late. So many learned men have been here before me. Yes, but there's still much to be done, cried Mr. Fregwitson. Fridrickson, I'm just kind of blowing past it now already. You think so? Said my uncle, his eyes twinkling with hidden satisfaction. Yes, you have no idea how many unknown mountains, glaciers, volcanoes there are which remain to be studied, without moving from where we sit. I can show you one. Yonder on the edge of the horizon you see Sneffels. Oh, yes, Sneffels, said my uncle. One of the most curious volcanoes in existence, the crater of which has been rarely visited. Extinct? Extinct any time these 500 years, was the ready reply. Well, said my uncle, who dug his nails into his flesh and pressed his knees tightly together to prevent himself from leaping with joy. I have a great mind to begin my studies with an examination of the geological mysteries of this Mount Mephistopheles. What did you call it? All right, let me take a look at this story here, because I'm getting a little carried, these kitties, I'm getting a little carried away, and it's possible. Oh, yeah, we're not doing too bad yet. We're getting there. Yeah, that's the whole deal. I got to switch. Oh, boy. I got to switch glasses. I got to don't touch this and beware of that and this kind of thing. So, all right. So he's playing all coy. Oh, Uncle Hardwig, that he's like, oh, what's the name of this place? Oh, yeah. Sneffels. Yeah, right, yeah. Sneffels, my dear sir. This portion of the conversation took place in Latin, and I therefore understood all that had been said. I could scarcely keep my countenance when I found my uncle so cunningly concealing his delight and satisfaction. I must confess that his artful grimaces put on to conceal his happiness made him look like a new, Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles. Osophanatkin. Yes. He continued. Your proposition delights me. I will endeavor to climb the summit of Sneffels, and, if possible, will descend into its crater. I very much regret, continued M. Frederickson, that my occupation will entirely preclude the possibility of my accompanying you. It would have been both pleasurable and profitable if I could have spared the time. No, 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 1,000 times no, cried my uncle. I do not wish to disturb the serenity of any man. I thank you, however, with all my heart. The presence of one so learned as yourself would no doubt have been most useful. But the duties of your office and profession before everything. He snuck out of that one, didn't he? All right, so we're almost at the end of this thing. But let's just get a little bit more in here. In the innocence of his simple heart, our host did not perceive the irony of these remarks. I entirely approve your project, continued the Icelander, after some further remarks. It is a good idea to begin by examining this volcano. You will make a harvest of curious observations. In the first place, how do you suppose to get to Sneffels? By sea. I shall cross the bay. Of course, that is the most rapid route. Of course. But still, it cannot be done. Why? We have not an available boat in all Reykjavik, replied the other. What is to be done? You must go by land along the coast. It is longer, but much more interesting. Then I must have a guide. Of course, and I have your very man, someone on whom I can depend. Yes, an inhabitant of the peninsula on which Sneffels is situated. He is a very shrewd and worthy man, with whom you will be well pleased. He speaks Danish like a Dane. When can I see him? Today? No, tomorrow. He will not be here before. Tomorrow it be it, replied my uncle, with a deep sigh. The conversation ended by complaints on both sides. During the dinner, my uncle had learned much as to the history of Arne Sagnason, the reasons for his mysterious and hieroglyphical document. Hieroglyphical document. He also became aware that his host would not accompany him on his adventurous expedition, and that next day we should have a guide. Woo! There we go. That's the end of chapter 7. We're moving on to chapter 8, and I remember this from when I was a kid. This is the Eiderdown Hunter. That's the guy who's going to be their guide. So, all right, let's take a look. We're just going to let it just play on out. I guess all the kitties is sleeping, so I could cut it off early, but you never know. Someone might come skydiving in. Oh, there's Taffy right there doing something stupid. No. I mean, something very clever. All right. Later, guys. Thanks for coming along. Chapter 8 next. Samsey. Oh, there's a big old Rosie. You take us out, girl.